bienvenue à l'émission internationale Vue sur le jazz. Je m'appelle Colette Schreiber, Coco pour les intimes. Pour moi, ça jazz du côté Montréal-Québec.
Hey, bonjour, Christine Marion, de la belle ville d'Annecy en France. Vous savez quoi? Je suis la jumelle de Coco. Et pour moi aussi, ça swing grave.
So, hi, Sheila Jordan. Thank you for taking your time with us here at Vue sur le Jazz International. Me, Coco, I'm in Montreal. And here I present to you on this side, Christine Marion. She's in Annecy in France. So we have this new communication together, collaboration.
That's great. Welcome. Wow, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for having me, Coco. And it's very nice to meet you, my dear. And I love your country.
Thank you. You know what? I met you for the International Jazz Conference. It's Jazz Education Network. I met you.
I thought you look very familiar to me, you know, and I thought we had met, but I wasn't sure.
I have always big glasses.
Yes. That's okay, yeah. I like it.
Thank you.
Yes, okay. Christine told me that she met you at the Jazz Education Network.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, Sheila, I have a question. I know this question.
I'll do my best.
Okay. Can you explain to us how did you meet Charlie Parker and what kind of man was he?
Oh, my idol. My big brother. I met Charlie Parker when I was about 14 years old in Detroit, Michigan. We couldn't go to bars because you had to be, well, at that time you had to be 18 because you could get in a bar where they sold alcohol at 18. Not anymore. Now it's 21. But at that time it was 18. I was only 14. So they had like concerts every once in a while, beautiful concerts for younger people and older people too. But it was great for us because we could go because they didn't sell alcohol. And it was called the Great Stone Ballroom. So Charlie Parker appeared at the Great Stone Ballroom when I was 14 years old in Detroit. I was in my second year of high school, I think. And I went with my two friends who I sang bebop with. And we went to hear Bird. And that was the first time I heard and saw Charlie Parker in person. I bought all his records because I was a big Bird freak. From the time I got into jazz, Charlie Parker was the first person that I ever heard. I always sang. When I was a kid, from the time up, I sang all the time, and there were great tunes to sing because it was like during the beginning of like Gershwin and Cole Porter. You know, I mean, I'm 92 and a half years old, so we're going way back. But those were the guys that were writing the music, and it was great music. But I always sang these songs, but I never knew what kind of music I wanted to sing. And at 14, I was in high school in Detroit, and there was a jukebox across the street from where I, attended school. So there was it was a hamburger place, and the kids would go over there during their lunch hour and buy a hamburger and, listen to music. So that's where I would hang out. So I went over this one day, and I had a nickel, that's all it cost, to put in the jukebox. And I said, oh, what do I want to play? I don't know. Let me look around and see. And there was a thing came up, said Charlie Parker and his reboppers, not beboppers, reboppers, R-E, reboppers. And I said, oh, I wonder what that's like. So I put my nickel in, and it was Bird. 4 notes. That was it. I said, oh, my God. That's the music I'll dedicate my life to, whether I sing it or support it or teach it or whatever. It was it. I had found my treasure. I had found my purpose. I knew that is what I would do for the rest of my life, which I'm still doing.
For the rest of your life?
Yes, for the rest of my life until I die, I will be doing bebop music. I will be doing jazz, I should say, which is
Did you
bebop.
wrote lyrics on Charlie Parker's songs? Did you wrote lyrics or no?
Yes, I wrote some lyrics, and I started going around to places. We had a club in Detroit that was just for teenagers because they didn't sell alcohol. And I think it was called the Club Sudan. I can't remember exactly. And I met these two young guys there, two young African guys, and they were big bird freaks and bebop freaks. And they got up and they were singing. And after they were finished, I went over and I said, do you think I could sing with you sometime? And they said, what? I said, sing with you. They said, sing what? They were kind of like, who is this little white girl, And I said, well, I sing Bird. They said, Bird, you know Bird? I said, well, no, I don't know him, but I know his music a little bit. I know the tunes. And they said, oh, yeah, okay, let's try one. So they started singing. This wasn't on stage for an audience. It was over on the side during the break. And I sang with them, and they said, wow, you do know Bird. Oh, that's cool. So I got to be friendly with them, and I started hanging out with them. It was difficult in Detroit because Detroit was very prejudiced. They were very anti-African American. I mean, it was very difficult for me. But I was colorblind. I wasn't into like color or prejudice. I wasn't into that at all. I come from native background, so I know that prejudice from growing up being from the Seneca Nation. And my grandfather, we were always like looked down upon like half-breeds. Can you imagine? This was my ancestors discovered the America. It was their land, and it was taken from them by Christopher Columbus. And the Spanish and Americans, and they took or the people that came over, Europeans, and stole the land from my ancestors. Do I celebrate Columbus Day? Oh no, not at all. But anyway, getting back to Skeeter and Mitch, and so I started singing with them, and they started getting together and said, well, we rehearse a lot, we learn all the bird tunes and so on and so forth. I would say that the one guy that sang in the group, Skeeter Spite, was the greatest scat singer I ever heard. To this day.
Okay, cool. I was going to ask, did they become musicians?
Unbelievable. Skeeter Spite from Detroit, Michigan. Okay. And at that time, the musicians that I grew up with were Tommy Flanagan, Barry Harris, Kenny Burrell. Those were the Cats.
Wow, the Cats.
Yeah, and they were like, I hung out with them. I was always in the police station because I was this little white girl hanging out with African kids.
They would stop you?
Pardon me?
They would stop you?
Oh, yes. Are you kidding? Detroit was the most prejudiced city in the world. Not only did they stop me, they took me down to the police station and asked me why I was hanging out with, and they used the N-word. I do not use that word. Derogatory word for Africans, African Americans. I don't use that word. I hate it. It's ugly. But no, I was always at the police station. And they said something about my mother. My mother could have cared less, I didn't come from that kind of background, and my mother anyway had a very serious problem with alcohol. So I moved out of my mother's house when I was about 17. When I was just out of high school, I got a job and I got a job supporting myself. And I remember, there was a time also we went to Belle Isle, and my boyfriend was Frank Foster at the time. And I remember the cops came by and stopped us and took me and Frank down to the police station. They didn't bother Frank, but they bothered me. And they took me in the police station, gave me the 3rd degree. What was I doing hanging out with these ends? And they said, well, we're going to call your mother and tell her, your mother and father. I said, well, if you can find her, great, but I don't live with her. I live by myself. I do it. I go to school part-time and I work part-time. And they looked at me like, oh, so what could they do? They couldn't hold me. It was this one cop looked at me. He said, I want to tell you something, miss. Okay, we can't hold you, but I'm going to tell you something. I got a 9-year-old daughter. And he put his gun up on the table or the desk,
Yeah.
The gun they carry. He said, and he put his hand on the gun. He said, I have a 9-year-old daughter at home. If I thought I was going to find her like I found you tonight, I would take this gun and go home and shoot her brains out.
Really?
Wow.
Is that prejudice? What about that?
That's great.
I said, oh my God, this guy's very sick.
Oh, yeah. He
so I want to take it easy.
Brainwashed.
Yes, I said, I'm going to take it easy. Oh, Detroit was terrible. We had great musicians, as I said. Our hero was Hank Jones because he was already in New York. But the Jones brothers, they were originally from Lansing or somewhere else outside of Detroit. But I think they moved to Detroit. There was Hank and all of the wonderful Jones guys. Hank Jones, Alvin Jones, Years later, Alvin Jones in New York was my babysitter.
But Detroit was very famous for the jazz club, or no?
Oh, yes, very famous.
Why? Do you know the reason? Because it was very popular?
Oh, yeah, because there were great musicians coming up there. As I said, Tommy Flanagan, Kenny Burrell, Barry Harris, Hank Jones, who was our hero. Billy Mitchell was a great saxophone player. And I remember the first time I ever heard Bird in person, as I said, was at the Greystone Ballroom. And me and Skeeter and Mitch are, the guys I sang with, we had to go and hear Bird. And it was great because we could get in because, as I said, the age was okay and they didn't sell alcohol. So it was a concert, so we could get in. So Billy Mitchell, unbeknownst at the time, had told Bird, there's 3 kids in here that sing your music. And Bird said, oh, really? And Billy said, yeah, of course. Billy was, Bird knew who Billy was. Billy worked with a lot of jazz groups, Even he lived in Detroit, but he, would go out on the road with them. And he was a great player. So anyway, Bird got up after his break and he played one tune. And when he was finished, he said, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, I got 3 young people here that do my music. I understand they sing my music, and I'd like to invite them up to sing. So we were looking around. Gee, I wonder who that is, Who does? That's what we do. There's another group that do what we do. We didn't know he meant us. So we were shocked, I wonder who that is. So we were waiting. We were waiting for them, this trio, to get up and sing. And Bird looked over at us. He said, well, come on. And he pointed at us.
Yeah.
I said, oh, my God. And we got up and we sang. We did one of his tunes because Skeeter and Leroy wrote a lot of lyrics for Bird heads. I did a few, but I didn't do as many as they did. So anyway, I can't remember what tune we did. It might have been Barbados, or it might have been Confirmation. It might have been Rhythm Change. I don't remember. Anyway, we got up and we sang. And Bird was just smiling like crazy. And the piano player was Duke Jordan.
And what kind of guy he was out of the stage? What kind of man?
And after, we came off the stage after, and everybody clapped. They were, excited because they knew us as these kids from Detroit. So we were very happy and felt very good. And we enjoyed the rest of the concert. And Bird came off the stage after and came over. He was so sweet, and he thanked us. And then he looked at me and he said, kid, you have $1 million ears. I said, $1 million ears? What is that, And, it was incredible. But anyway, I stayed in Detroit until Frank Foster, he and I lived together for a while. And then he went into the army. I guess it was the Korean War. And I moved to New York. I had to be around Charlie Parker's music. And I went to Birdland with a friend of mine who was very close with Bird. She said, I'm going up to hear Bird. Want to go? And I said, yeah. So she said, well, come on, and let's, so we went. So Bird was playing, and then there was a break. And then during the break, she said, I'm going to go back and say hello to Bird. Do you want to come along? And I said, oh, yeah, I'd love to. So she went back. Bird was thrilled to see her. He hugged her. He kissed her. And then he looked over. He saw me. He said, I know you. Now, this is years later. It's not like, this is quite a few years.
Yeah,
I'm a little more grown, He looked over at me and he said, I know you. You're the kid with the $1 million ears.
Nice.
I was so shocked.
Coco, do you have a question for Sheila?
Yes. Yeah, I wanted to know, obviously, you're a wonderful singer, fantastic singer. And since you're a big Bird lover, did you ever try yourself on the saxophone?
No. I wish I could have, but we couldn't afford that. I came from a very, very poor family. So I had a great aunt who taught piano, and I took piano with her, but I have little hands. So she would get very angry if you couldn't reach, a certain chord, like the whole chord. And she used to take a ruler and hit your hands with it. I mean, my hands were black and blue. And my grandmother saw my hands. She said, what happened to your hands? They're all black and blue. I said, and Alma hits me with the ruler when I can't reach the keys.
Okay.
She said, that's it. You're not going there anymore.
And what about Duke Ellington? What about Duke
Ellington? No, I didn't know Duke Ellington.
No.
I was a bebopper. No, I loved his music. Don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. And I love Billy Strayhorn. I love what he wrote was incredible. Can you imagine writing Lush Life at such an early age? Incredible. An incredible tune. But anyway, getting back to Bird, that was, bebop was my thing. And I met Duke Jordan, and I would go to every Bird gig, and there were a lot of gigs. He was on, at that time we had 52nd Street in New York, and I was living in Brooklyn, and I started living with Duke Jordan. We started going out together. Frank was in the army, and he sort of like faded away, and unfortunately.
You fell in love.
Huh?
You fell in love?
Yeah, with Duke. Duke and I started, and I didn't feel like I was cheating on doing Frank Foster wrong, because he had not been in touch with me for when he was in the service. He came home in the beginning when he was first in the army, and I took him to Birdland, and I said, bring your horn, man, because Bird was playing. And I said, bring your horn, man. And by this time, I was real close with Bird. He was like my big brother. And he said, really? And I said, yeah, bring your horn, man. So he brought his horn, and we went up to Birdland, and Bird, during the break, came over he was glad to see me. He said, I'm glad to see you, And he said, I didn't know you were coming. And I said, Bird, this is Frank Foster. He said, oh, you're in the army, you're in the Soldier Boy, right? And Frank said, yeah. He said, I said, yeah, and he's a great player, man. He said, wow, come on up and play a tune with us. And Frank said, oh, I don't know. Bird said, man, come on. So Frank got up and played with Bird. Of course, that was Frank's thrill. In fact, he talked about it on a couple of interviews later on in life. Huh?
Sheila, did you rehearse a lot of with Bird? Did you rehearse very often?
This was just sitting in. No. This is just, no, I never sang with Bird. I never did gigs with Bird.
How come, though?
What?
How come, though, you didn't do gigs with him or do an album with him?
He could barely pay the rhythm section that he had. He wasn't about money-wise, because, Bird had the cunning, baffling, powerful disease of drug addiction. So every cent that he made, he had, no. I sat in, he would have me come up and sing with him, and it was great because by this time I was with Duke Jordan, and Duke knew all my tunes. And also I had been studying with Lennie. I started to study with Lennie Tristano.
Yes.
So.
But do they have recordings of this? Of those sessions?
Not at that time. No.
Bad.
No.
It's too bad, though.
Yeah, not like it is today. No, I know.
Yeah.
Right. Wouldn't that be wonderful?
Oh.
So anyway, Bird became very close with me. He became like my big brother. And if he would not be able to go home because he had a fight with his wife or whatever, I had a bed, a little cot that I called Bird's bed. And Bird would come up to my bed. I had all these little cots, and I used to have sessions there because I was studying with Lennie, and I would have sessions on Saturday night. People would come by the loft and play. But Bird always knew that he had a little place there to come and rest if he was tired and he couldn't go home. So this one day he came by, and by this time I had a parakeet, a little bird that I taught to say, "Hello, bird. Hello, bird." So I would let him out of the cage if nobody was around. But I would not let him out of the cage if people were around because he was a pain in the ass, pardon my French. Pardon my French. Pardon my French. He'd get on your head or, he'd bother. He was a botherer, as they call it. So Bird came by one day. It was the afternoon. He wanted to take a rest. He said, "Sheila, I need to take a rest on my little bed. Can I come in and lay down on my cot?" And I said, "Yeah, but let me get Tori." That was the bird's name. That Tori, I think, is bird in Japanese. And I said, "Let me get Tori in his cage because he'll bother you." He said, No, it's okay. I don't really care. I said, "Okay, man, but he's going to be a pain in the neck." He said, "Oh, no, it's okay." So Bird came in and laid down. And of course, the minute you laid down, Tori was on you. That's what birds do, or this bird anyway. So the bird jumped on Bird's Charlie Parker's knee. And I had taught him to say, "Hello, Bird." And so he jumped on Bird's knee and he said, "Hello, Bird." And Bird looked up and he looked at me and he said, "What are you, a damn ventriloquist?" I said, "No, I didn't say that. Tori said it." Bird. He said, "Come on." And I said, "No, he really did." And so Bird said, yeah, right, he did. Like he doubted me. So I put his head back down on the pillow on his cot, and the bird now came up and jumped right up on his face and put his beak right in Bird's mouth and said, "Hello, Bird." And Bird jumped up. He said, "God damn, that bird does talk." This is his story. Charlie Parker was very dear to me. He was like a big brother. I know he used to call his mother when he'd come up to the loft, and he'd put me on the phone to talk to his mom. And I told her, like her son was like my big brother, and I really loved him, and he was such a genius, musical genius. And she thanked me. She was very sweet. One time he came up and he brought Bela Bartok's theme and four variation and Stravinsky's Rites of Spring. He said, "You got to hear this." So he turned me on to Bartok and Stravinsky. Bird did. Years ago. So, I mean, yeah, I was devastated when Bird died. Devastated. 34 years old. That's all he was.
I know.
Yes, he was very
young.
But he looked much older because the drugs and the drugs had really taken a toll on him physically. But and I touched his hand. in the casket. I touched his hand and I touched his face, and it took a long time for me.
What about your life after birth? What about your life?
Well, I was studying with Lennie Tristano, and I was, still with Duke. We were married. But Duke also had the problem of drug addiction. So he was in and out of the loft, The loft is where I lived, was my. And so I was studying with Lennie, and then on Saturday nights I would have sessions, and the kids would come by, and we'd play until early morning hours, And then they had a Minton's After Hours Playhouse up in Harlem, which is still there. Minton's is still there. And we get on the A train and go up there and sit in, it was great. So it was a beautiful musical life. I can't complain. I mean, I met great musicians. Charlie Mingus and Max Roach were the two musicians who took me to study with Lennie Tristano. I didn't know who Lennie Tristano was. And they turned me on to Lennie, and they took me to him because they knew that I was looking for a teacher. So that's how I got to Lennie Tristano and got to know Lennie Tristano's music. It was through Max Roach and Charlie Mingus, because I met Max Roach when I was a teenager again.
Really?
He was with Bird. I think he might have been with Bird the first night that Bird had us sing. But I was, got up to sing with my two friends in Detroit all those many years ago. Mm-hmm. So Max might have been the drummer then, but Max was a sweetheart. I love Max Roach. And then there was also Roy Haynes. I met Roy, and we became good friends. In fact, my best friend, I introduced him to her, and he ended up marrying her. So there you go.
Sheila,
after I moved to New York, Leslie Haynes.
Sheila, did you have a good relationship with other jazz singers, or you were always you were always?
No, I was more into instrumentalists, and the jazz singers were kind of standoffish. I mean,
Okay.
My favorite singer, of course, was Billie Holiday, because I loved her emotion. Of course, who had a voice more divine or more powerful or great than Sarah Vaughan? What a voice. And then who could scat like Ella Fitzgerald? To me, she still is the greatest scat singer going.
Yes, you always say that.
Huh?
You always say that
Ella,
she's the top in scat. Yes.
She was the top, of course. She was the top, yes. And to me still is. I mean, Ella, oh my God. And I met a lot of great musicians, coming up. John Hendricks, a genius of lyric writing, a genius of improvising, who was a sweetheart. I love John Hendricks. He was so sweet.
He was a gentleman.
Huh?
He was really a gentleman. I met him at the end of his life.
Oh, yes.
So smart and elegant.
Yeah, that's true. He was. So there were a lot of wonderful musicians after, And going to Lennie was great because Lennie would have sessions on Saturday nights sometimes. And all of his students would come back to his studio, and we'd play and try out ideas. And it was great,
Cool.
Cool.
It was
a good way to learn, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I was very lucky. I stopped studying with Lennie because he called me into his studio after a lesson. And because, he would be in his studio, like a soundproof thing. And we would be in the main part, and then we would do our lesson. And then afterwards, he would come out, or he would have us come in. So this one day he invited me in after my lesson, and he said I really don't think you should be involved with Duke Jordan. And I said, why? He said, because he has a problem, and it's very dangerous, and you're too talented, and he went on. He was like trying to look out for me, like a big brother.
Mhm.
But at the time, I didn't feel that. I was angry that he would say that to me. And so because of that, I walked out. I said goodbye, and I never went back to Lennie. And I really feel bad about that because he was absolutely right. You know, he was absolutely right. I should
Yeah,
have.
but sometimes when we're in love, we don't want to hear
No,
advice.
that's right. You're absolutely right, Coco.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it was. So, you know, and then I had my daughter, and
Yes, your lovely daughter,
you know Tracy, right?
Tracy. Yes, how is she?
Fine, she's wonderful. She's a senior representative, or the highest thing you can be on Sirius XM. She's
Okay.
very talented.
Okay.
Not into singing or dance. She did dance for a while.
Okay.
Not professionally, but she took dance lessons, and she went to performing arts, and she was very talented, but somehow she got into the business end of it. She's very good at it.
Yeah, but she's in the industry.
Oh yeah. Oh yes.
Uh-huh. Cool.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for all these super stories. Wow. Wow.
I'll tell you more, please.
You know, I wanted to ask you. You had with Steve Kuhn, the pianist. You had a very nice collaboration with him.
Yes, I did.
And I know that in the past years, you were going to be doing something together.
You mean recording or performing?
Recording.
Well, we were supposed to record, but that's me. I'm lax, lazy,
Okay.
and you know, I don't have a recording company that wanted to record us. So I've never been very lucky at that.
Okay.
I mean, High Note has recorded me, and I think they would record me, but you know, like I would. I don't know. I think, you know, nowadays, especially for me, it seems that I have to pay for the recording and do the finished product and then give it to them. And if they like it, then they'll pay me whatever. So
Okay, yeah.
it's been difficult. I mean, nobody's been knocking down my door to record. But I would like to record something before I pass on.
Mm-hmm.
One last recording, you know, one last time.
Do you write lyrics now, or you stop? You write?
Oh no, it depends. If it's something that I feel I can hear a lyric to, of course, I will write it. You know, and I wrote this song with, you know, music and lyrics called "The Crossing." It's called "The Crossing," and it's a song about my recovery because I got into.
I think you sing that song often at the end of your shows, right?
That's right. You know that.
Yes, of course.
Coco, she knows everything.
Yes, she does. Coco's hip, man. But yes, I do. I close my concerts always with "The Crossing." It's called. And I wrote that for my recovery from alcohol because I had a problem with alcohol. And I've been in a program now for 36 years. I mean, I haven't had alcohol for 70, but I got a little involved with snorting cocaine. Not a lot, but enough to, you know, to be a problem. So I found I can't mention what it is.
Okay.
But anybody that's has had a problem with drugs or alcohol knows what program I'm talking about. And it saved my life. I had a spiritual experience, or they say a spiritual awakening. I remember I hadn't had a drink in 8 years. I was on a dry drunk, as they call it, you know, struggling not to drink with no help, doing it on my own, so to speak. And I remember
cold turkey.
And I remember that I started snorting a little cocaine now and then. Not every day, but you know, Wasn't good. And so I remember I was on my couch and I had snorted some cocaine and wasn't drinking, dry drunk. And that was 8 years. But I was snorting a little cocaine. And I remember, oh my God, it was unbelievable. I had a spiritual awakening. A voice came to me as I was on the couch, just sitting there relaxing. And it said, I gave you a gift. This voice, clear as, oh my God, clear as a bell, said, I gave you a gift. Now, if you don't take care of it, I'm going to take it away and give it to somebody else. Now,
Wow.
that's up to you. And I'm like this, wow, where did that voice, who was that? What is that? I was in shock. Man, you know what? I ran over to the telephone. For some reason, I don't know who that was or what it was, but whatever this spirit was, it drew me to the telephone and let me call this organization. And I called them up. And you know what this woman said to me when I told her that I had not had a drink in 8 years, but I was snorting some cocaine and getting into drug use, but not drinking, but I love to drink. She said, why would you, and that I had not had a drink in 8 years. And she said, why would you want to do that on your own? Why would you want to try to do that on your own when we're here to help you?
Uh-huh.
And I said, oh my God, that makes so much, of course. That makes all the sense in the world, of course. Why am I trying to do this on my own? She told me where to go. And I went, and I've been there ever since. Just celebrated 36 years of sobriety.
Bravo.
There you go.
Félicitations.
No desire to drink. No desire to drug. No, none whatsoever. It's
Oh, you're
totally
a strong woman. You're a strong woman.
Yes, you are a strong woman.
You know,
for sure.
the music was more important than the alcohol or the drugs. And I'm very grateful to my higher power. So I've been okay. And I'm going to be 93 years old.
Yes. Yes. So how did you find this year?
Good. Yeah, I'm not working, but that's okay. I had money saved, and I always had until the last 8 years or so. I worked in an office off and on too. I had just a regular job if I wasn't singing, or a part-time job. So I was a good typist, so I always had a job. And I worked for an advertising agency, and Doyle Dane Bernbach, and they were very hip. Oh. And they knew I sang, because when they'd have their Christmas party, the trio, I always knew the jazz trio. They would ask me do you know a good trio that would play, for a party? A Christmas party? I don't. Yeah, of course I do. So I'd hire a trio that I knew, like John Knapp and his trio, or Jack Riley, or whoever.
Wow, cool.
Hey, Sheila, I have a very good friend in Italy. And
I love Italy.
He knows you is Fulvio Albano in Torino.
He what?
Fulvio Albano in Torino.
Oh, I know Torino, of course.
Yes.
I've been there. I love Torino.
You like it? Fulvio Albano, saxophone player.
Yeah. How is he?
He was the jazz director of the Torino club. Yes.
Yes, I love that.
And we speak very often.
Give him my love. Yeah. Actually, I think he got me the gig there.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, he said so, yes.
I think he got me the gig there. That's right. And I was always grateful to him because I loved it. We had a wonderful time.
He loved you too. He mentioned, yes, he said.
He plays with my husband, and we speak very often about you and all your super life.
Please give them all my love. Oh my God, I want to come back there so much.
And Coco will be there in August. I hope so.
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
I'm going to France in August.
Yeah.
You are.
Yeah.
And I
Okay.
love France.
Mm.
But you know, when I was in France, it was right after the World Trade Center or near that time.
Yeah.
And then France had that terrible explosion. Remember that explosion you guys had?
In France.
In France?
I think it was in France. Yes.
When?
Oh, this was quite a few years ago. And I had a gig at, what's it?
Notre-Dame? Ou non, c'est...
I don't remember where, but anyway, you had there was one of those, somebody set off a bomb in one of the clubs, I think.
Yes, for Charlie Hebdo.
Yeah, something.
Charlie Hebdo in a club, yes. Yeah.
Well, I was there singing, and that happened, and it was that night, and I didn't know whether or not they were going to have, the concert. But we went anyway, and the place was packed. And that shooting had happened, that whole explosion.
Mm-hmm.
And what I did, I said, I just can't start singing. I have to talk to these beautiful people. And I wanted an interpreter so that they could interpret in French what I was saying.
Yes, yes.
And I told them about how I had seen the World Trade Center go down, because my daughter lived 9 blocks from that, and you could look out her window, and I saw the second tower go down. And I shared that experience with the beautiful French people and what they had lost and what was going on. And I said, it takes time, but you get over it. This is what I said. You get over it, but you never forget it.
Exactly.
And I remember that they were so beautiful. They just smiled and they clapped because I had given them encouragement about it, because it was a terrible thing and I'll never forget it. I didn't think I would be performing that night. I really didn't. I think I had 2 nights.
I think it was the club Le Bataclan.
Bataclan, oui, Bataclan.
Yes.
Whatever. Yes. I don't remember the name of it, but I do remember that evening and all those beautiful people, and the fact that even though this terrible tragedy had just happened, there they were sitting in the audience supporting the music. It was so beautiful. I'll never forget it.
Thank you, Sheila, for this beautiful interview, France and Montreal.
Yeah, it's cool.
And Montreal, I love Montreal. What is that club in Montreal? Where the downstairs?
Upstairs jazz bar.
Noel, right? Isn't his name Noel?
Joel,
yes. And he has at the time, he had just had a baby. I forgot what the little boy's name was. Not tall now, right?
Oh, yeah.
I love working it. I used to work at his club once a year. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you who got me in there, Len Dobbin. Do you remember Len Dobbin?
Yes.
He used to sit in one special chair at the bar.
Yes.
Really close to the bandstand. And Len Dobbin I had known from the Montreal Jazz Festival years ago. And what a great guy he was.
Yes, in fact, at the upstairs, they have a little section of the wall and a memorial to him.
Oh, yes. He was great. Well, he was a great guy. And I love the chef.
Oui.
They're great food. Oh, my God. The food was incredible. And the chef was incredible.
Yes, that's his partner. Yes.
I haven't been. Is it still going on?
Yes. It's there, but unfortunately, everything is closed in Montreal.
Because of the pandemic.
Exactly, yes. So it's been over a year now that the jazz club...
the same thing in France.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is...
Same thing all over.
Exactly, yes.
Well, now, New York, a few things are open, but yes, not really, not that much, people are afraid, and of course.
Okay. I saw on your Facebook that you're going to, speaking of gigs, you're going to be having a concert on May the 20th, and it's Sing a Song of Bird at the Soapbox Gallery.
Yes, that's a great place. I just did a concert there 2 weeks ago with Cameron, bass and voice. No audience. Yes. We didn't have much of an audience. I think he can have 15 people. Mm-hmm. But we only had one person. But it was, what do you call that? Zoomed or what is it? What
yes,
do you call
yes.
it?
You can see it online. Yes. So you're having a special for Bird. Is that what I understand?
Well, Rosanna Vitro, it's her thing, and she wanted to do this. And at that time, she was recording a year or two ago. She was recording a thing on Bird. And she asked me to be part of it because she knew, how much cool. I love Bird and that I did all of so many Bird tunes. Mm-hmm. So it was me and Bob Duro at the time was still alive. So it was me and Bob Duro, I remember. And we recorded this, and I think we did one gig together. I forgot where it was now. I can't remember because might have been in Pennsylvania, but I'm not sure. There's a club in Pennsylvania somewhere. But anyway, we did a gig. Now she's going to do this gig, and she wanted me to do it with her.
Okay, that's cool.
I was on the recording, and she knows that I'm a Bird freak, and I do a lot of Charlie Parker tunes.
Yes.
So I said yes. So yes, I will be doing that with Rosanna.
Cool.
That's nice. Good.
Thank you, Sheila.
Are we finished?
Yes.
Oh. You don't have any more questions, Christine?
No. We can spend all the night.
I know. Yes. I could ask about Mark Murphy. I could ask about Harvey.
Yeah, Mark Murphy was like my big brother. Hold on, I'll show you something. Hold on a minute if you can. I have so many photos. I can take down.
On va porter la photo.
Oui. Wow.
Yes.
Yes.
There you go, both of you.
Yes.
Beautiful.
That is a concert. And then we were also in a jazz opera of George Gruntz, who was a Swiss composer, pianist, great musician.
Yes.
And also later is the head of the Berlin Jazz Festival. He would book that. And we did a couple of his jazz operas. And one of them, I did a couple of his jazz operas. And one of them Mark was in. So yeah, I have a nice picture, but it's big. I don't think you'd be able to see it on the wall. We're in our
Just a question, Sheila. Do you imitate the instrument with your voice?
No, I'm inspired, but no, I never tried it. No, I sing about my life and about life in general. My music is about life. It's attached to my heart and my soul. My music. In other words, I have my heart, my soul, and my music.
Yes, beautiful.
They're all together.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's such a joy.
See you soon on the planet. Why not? In France? Why not?
Oh, yes. I gotta come over. I want to come to France.
Okay. Why not?
I want to come. You have a really good friend of mine, Nina. Her name is Nina, and she's a photographer. She's a great photographer. Nina Melis. So I usually stay with her when I come to France. And we go back all the way back to when she lived in New York City.
Okay.
With her husband.
She takes you around.
Yes. She's a great lady. She's a great photographer. Oh, my God. But she has pictures of from all the way back of the musicians. Mingus and Max, all of them, and she's a great photographer. Cool. And a great lady. Nina Melis, if you ever get a chance to meet her. She's wonderful. I think you'd really enjoy her.
Okay. But
I'll
one
check her out
thing
on the
is
web.
sure that Coco and I, we are fan of Sheila Jordan.
You're kidding me. Are you kidding? You really are? I mean, I'm kind of in shock. Because I do the music, but I don't think I'm that well known. And the amazing thing is that I started the first jazz vocal workshop in the United States in 1978.
Yeah,
Thanks
crazy, eh?
to John Lewis, who was the pianist with the Modern Jazz Quartet. And I knew John Lewis way, way before that. I knew John when he worked with Bird, when he was Bird's piano player. And, so I do remember one time, I'll share this with you. Bird was playing at the old Birdland on 52nd Street, not the new one, the old one. That was the original one. And they were doing a sound check rehearsal, and I was married to Duke at the time. And it was Duke Jordan, Miles Davis, Max Roach, Tommy Potter. I think it was Tommy Potter. And, of course, Bird and Miles. So Miles said to Bird, he and Duke never got along. For some reason, Miles did not like Duke Jordan's playing. Didn't like it. And said to Bird, man, why don't you get rid of that cat and get John Lewis or somebody else? Why are you using that cat? And I'll never forget Charlie Parker's words. He said, Miles, this is my band. When you get your band, you can get John Lewis or somebody else. But if you want to be in my band, I want you to know that my piano player is Duke Jordan. Now, if you don't like it, you can leave. I never forgot that. And I was sitting like,
Wow.
well, listening to this, and I said, oh, Bird, you're the sweetest. He was very sweet, Bird. He was wonderful. I loved him. My big brother.
Yes.
Bird lives. You know that.
Yes.
I just hope that a lot of the young musicians coming up know who Bird was and listen to Bird, That's my fear, that they don't know enough about Bird or they don't know who Bird was.
And now he got his own star.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah.
Ladies, it was wonderful.
Yes, it was fantastic.
Thank you. Fantastic.
Thank you for taking your time for us, dear Sheila.
Take care of you.
Let me know if you need any more time or any other questions or for anything at all. Anything, I'm here for you, okay?
Okay.
Wow. Thank you.
Have a nice afternoon.
Ciao, ciao.
Take care of yourself. Bye.
Bye-bye. Love you all. Thank you so much.
Love you too. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. I don't want to go.